Okay. Hey, what's going on? Victor Adetiba with Master Tech Training Academy, back again for another episode of IT Success Tips. Now, the great thing about these tips is that even if you're not in the IT industry, they can be applicable to your industry, whether you're trying to update your LinkedIn profile, search for a job on LinkedIn, update your resume, whatever it is you're trying to do, you can take these IT success tips and apply them for your industry. I've applied them in the IT industry, the healthcare industry, the real estate industry. You can really apply them to whatever industry that you are in. So today we're going to be talking about resumes and setting up your resume and how to do that, how to format your resume, and just kind of best practices. I'm actually going to walk you guys through a version of my resume, and we're just going to talk about why I made the decisions that I made on my resume and why those decisions are good decisions, or why you may opt to make a different decision. So we're going to go over to the screen share now, and you can see my resume on the right hand side. I'll start off by saying my resume is a total of 4 pages long currently, although it doesn't have all of my positions on here. This one is customized for agile coach positions. And so the thing about this resume is that a lot of people will tell you you want to keep your resume to maybe 1 or 2 pages or less. I tend to err on the side of I want to put as much, all of the pertinent information on there that's necessary without putting information on there that's not. So normally I'll filter my job results that I put on the resume to jobs that are specific to this role that I am vying for. If I were to put together a comprehensive resume with all of my work experience on it, it would probably be 6, 7, 8 different pages, and that would probably just be too long. And so some people think that this is too long. I think it's kind of right on the sweet spot because of the formatting that I have and the layout that I use. I think it looks nice. I think it flows well, and I think it's just fine for me. All right. All right. So let's get to it. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in to the resume. Actually, before I do that, one of the tips that I want to give is that you want to use a word processor, ideally like a Microsoft Word, so that you have the full control over your resume. There's some resume websites that allow you to just kind of enter your information and it'll format your resume for you and output it. I don't love those because you don't really have full control over that output or that format. And if you try to edit your resume away from some of those sites, it can go bad. So I prefer using Microsoft Word. You can actually go to the Office 365 website. I used to work as an Office 365 engineer, and you can get a 30-day subscription to Microsoft Word for free by entering your email address. And if you want to extend it, you can reach out to customer service and they'll give you an extra, I think, up to 2 more months free. So if you're in a situation where you don't have access to Microsoft Office or Microsoft Word, go download a free trial copy, extend your access, and do whatever it is you need to do to your resume. Now, I like to keep two formats of my resume: a Word version and a PDF version. Um, I like to send the PDF version usually because sometimes when you send that email, depending on the version of Word that they've got when they open it up, it can change the formatting. So your indentation can be off, your alignment can be off, and it can make it not look the best. So I like to save it as a PDF version. And if you guys don't know how to do that, you can go into Microsoft Word, go to File, Print, and normally it could be a little bit different if you got a Mac or a PC. But normally I can just click this drop down right here and say save as a PDF. It'll ask me to name it and where I want to save it, and it will save this Word document as a PDF. And so the PDF won't be editable to most people. I'll say that. So that just kind of locks in that formatting. I normally like to send a PDF version, and if they ask for a Word version, I'll send that later. So that is Microsoft Word. Now we're going to go ahead and zoom in. So we're going to switch views now. I'm going to go to, I'm going to zoom in, and we're going to go to, what view is that? focus view. There it is. All right. So at the top, you'll see my name, Victor Adetiba. I've got a black banner across the top. I think it helps my resume just kind of stand out and look a little bit more professional. Put an underline and a box around my resume. I've made each of these letters in my name capitalized, and I've made the first letter a little bit larger font. I've added the positions that I'm looking for. And so this kind of ties in with one of the previous videos about being a specialist and not a generalist. And so this resume is specifically formatted to apply for Agile project manager, Agile delivery lead, Scrum master, Agile coach positions. And that's what all of the positions on the resume are geared around. I've put these here so that when a hiring manager who is hiring for one of these positions sees the resume, they see the experience that I've got, and they see the type of position I'm vying for. If it's outside of the scope of these, it probably doesn't align with me. They probably don't need to give me a call, and they should look for a more qualified candidate. But that's okay because I'm okay with going narrow in my search. Now, I will say that I've got several different types of resumes. I've probably got about 10 or 12 different resumes, each kind of focus for a specific niche. And so if you are applying for different positions or you know you've got a different set of skill sets, then you probably want to have a different resume for each one. After that, I've got my phone number, which I got it blacked out because it's the internet. People are crazy, but if you guys are looking for me, you know how to find me, as well as my email address. I'd say you want to have a somewhat professional email address because you don't want like a Hotmail or an AOL. No diss to them, but normally I've been in rooms with hiring managers that kind of laugh at some of those emails because it just kind of indicates that you probably created this email 100 years ago and you just want one that is not necessarily trendy, but up to date. You also don't want an email address with a lot of numbers at the end of it or the beginning of it. If you can, first name, last name. If you can't do that, maybe first name, middle initial, last name. Whatever it is, make it a professional email address. And I often advise my students that you may want to create a brand new email address for when you start applying if you don't have one that is currently professional. So all of your job search, all of your alerts are going to go to that email address, and your resume is going to have that email address on it as well. I've also got my LinkedIn profile here as well as the city and state that I'm in. I don't have my address on it. I'll give you guys a pro tip. Sometimes you may want to remove your address from it altogether because sometimes hiring managers won't even call you if you're not in the city and or state that the job posting is in. And so depending on if it's a remote role or if you're willing to relocate, sometimes it can be better to not have your address on there at all. So that's just a quick tip. For me, I've got my career kind of at the top, an accomplished results-oriented IT delivery professional working at the intersection of project planning, risk management, stakeholder engagement, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read through all of it, but I've just got basically a sentence that goes over high-level overview of my history, my experience, what I'm looking for, kind of what my skills are, all while still tying them back into that agile slash project management slash coaching type of role that it is that I'm looking for. Below that, I've got my professional skills. So this is an opportunity for you to add some bullet points. And again, this format is not the end all be all format. This is a format that I like and that I'm currently using. I've had other formats that work equally as well. This is just the one that I prefer in this current season. A previous resume that I had, I don't know if it was below professional skills or above them. I had projects, and so I had kind of key highlights or career highlights, and I had some key highlights of some really big projects or initiatives that I worked on in different organizations, and a lot of metrics around those and kind of what I did to help that project or product or team be successful. So I've got the bullet points here, and these bullet points again touch on the skill set that I've got. Sometimes some resumes that I've seen or coached people with have particular softwares here. So if you're working maybe in like IT auditing or in accounting or in real estate or whatever, you may put or list these softwares that are industry standard here to let people know that you are proficient in these. But really, these can be a mix of whatever it is you want. Then I go into my career history. And so I got my current role, enterprise agile coach slash program manager. And I've got that because I was hired as an Agile coach, but in the system, in the organization, there isn't really a HR role called Agile coach. And so it's listed as program manager. Different organizations have it listed differently. So I would say don't be afraid of listing multiple titles under this role, because some of you guys know that you're working in an organization doing a specific role, but your title doesn't always align with exactly what it is you're doing. I've also got my dates here, 2021 to present. I normally don't like to put the months on my position, and this is kind of off actually. I normally don't put the dates on my position, the exact dates, the months, because it's just too much to keep up with. So I normally just keep it to the years. And if I get asked, or if I'm filling out a manual application, what those months are, then I'll go dig down and do the research to add those months. It also just kind of keeps the resume looking a little bit cleaner when you don't necessarily have all of those dates on there. So I've just got the year. I've got my time that I spent at Nike, and again, this date is off. This must be an old version of the resume, but it doesn't really matter. Responsible for working with enterprise data and analytics teams. I've got a couple of bullet points around this role. The specific format that I like to use is I like to make the title bold, and then I like to use this bracket, and then I'll add the name of the company along with the city and state it was in, and I'll slightly gray it out so that it just looks a little bit different, but I keep this uniform format throughout my resume. The job description, primary description for the position, I'll make it italicized, and then I'll use bullet points down below. And just depending on my time and how redundant some of the bullet points are, I may have, a lot of bullet points or a few bullet points. Got my time here at AAA. I've got my time at Toyota. Looks like there's an extra paragraph in here. And so here's another key tip that I like to use, or an extra return. So when you're using Word, there's this, I think it's a paragraph symbol or return symbol. And you can hit show here, and it will actually show you all of the tabs, all of the spaces on your screen. And so this means that I've got two returns here versus just having one in between each specific position. Then you can see each of these arrows means a tab, each of these is a return. And so I'll use these returns so that I can kind of align the margins of my resume so that it looks uniform. So if any spacing looks off, sometimes I'll just go and show that, show the symbols so that I can see exactly what it's doing and why the format may be off. Pro tip. Agile delivery lead, got my time there. Office 365 Cloud Agile delivery lead, and again, Office 365 working with Microsoft, project manager. And so I've got my work history going all the way back to 2012, 2013. Now, rule of thumb that I've heard from a lot of recruiters is you really just need about 10 years of experience on your resume. Anything beyond that is kind of roadkill. If you want to put more and try to keep your resume from being too long, you may just reduce the number of bullet points. And so you'll see kind of some of the older positions have more bullet points. And then as I get to some of the newer positions, I've got less bullet points. And that's just because some of the work that I did previously is a little bit redundant. And so I don't want to list kind of the same exact information on those bullet points. Quick tip about bullet points is you want to use some metrics, use some data, right? Talk about the number of teams that you work with, the number of members that were on that team. Talk about percentages and dollar amounts and satisfaction scores that you were able to increase from here to there. Give the hiring manager some sort of understanding about the scope of the position that you were in. It's going to be a win. Next, we've got the section about education and certifications. And so I've got a lot of certifications, and I know this isn't updated because I'm just looking and some of them aren't here. But I've got my Associates of Arts from Dallas County Community College. I don't have my high school diploma on here. Not sure why I removed it, but for some reason I did remove it. But I did graduate, proud graduate of Duncanville High School, which I have my Duncanville hat right here that I could represent for my high school. Then I've got my IC Agile certifications here as well. And so again, if you look at the format, it's very consistent. So I've got the degree and or certification in black text, and below the actual governing body or school that I got this certification or degree from. I've got it in a gray text, similar gray to what I've got with the jobs up here. And so I got one associate's degree from this school. I've got two certifications from this governing body. I've got one certification of PMP from Project Management Institute. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I left 3 off. 10 from Scrum Alliance. I've got 3 from Scaled Agile. I've got 1 from Scrum.org. I've got 1 from Lean Six Sigma. And I've got a couple from Microsoft. Got 1 from Amazon. And then this is a section for courses that I've taken, but I didn't take the certification class. And so I've got the CompTIA A+, Networking Plus, Healthcare IT Technician, ITIL Foundations. I want to list those still because there could be an organization that I'm in or that I'm applying for that this information is relevant. And so I want them to know that just because I haven't gotten the certification yet, I still have taken the class. And so this could be a place where you could also put, courses in progress, right? And that is a high level kind of rundown of my resume. I don't think this is the current one that I'm using because I see a couple of typos. So, like I said, I got a bunch of them. I just kind of grabbed the one and wanted to make this video for you guys so that you guys could have a little bit of information about how to format your resume, best practices. Some of the feedback that I've gotten is that this resume is very clean. The margins are very nice. Sometimes I've seen resumes where it gets really jagged out here and it's just not appealing to the eye. And so that's one of the things that I kind of pride myself in is that this resume looks very clean, looks very pristine, and I think it aligns, I know it aligns with the salary that I'm asking for based on kind of the experience that I've got and the way that it presents. So another tip I'll give is, read over your resume, check for spelling errors, check for congruency in the tense that you're using. So past and present tenses, you kind of don't want to mix those up too much. Hiring managers do look at that and take that into consideration. But yeah, spend some time on your resume. It's extremely important that you understand what's on your resume. One thing that I like to do to prepare for interviews, and I'll probably make an interview preparation video in the future at some point. But I go into an interview with, if it's an in-person interview, with 2 copies of my resume, one to give to them and one for me to have on hand. That's because sometimes you may not know what version of your resume they have, or they may have an old version of the resume. And so you just want to make sure that they've got the most updated resume. Also, sometimes it can help you with your nerves, whether you're on the phone or on Skype doing a remote interview. Just having your resume handy allows you to kind of walk down your experience and speak to it with some sort of conciseness, right? And helps you to not ramble. Sometimes you can forget what job you were at or forget, what order your jobs were in. And so just having that resume there that you can reference occasionally, both in person and for remote interviews, I think that is best practice. And I encourage all of my students to prepare for their interviews in that way. Again, Victor Adetiba with Mansa Tech Training Academy. I'm going to encourage you to take a look into Scrum, right? Our program is specific for Scrum Masters. And so if you've heard me talk about Scrum or if you've seen it on LinkedIn and you want to just kind of find out more information about what Scrum is and whether or not you could be a good fit to work as a Scrum Master, I encourage you to go to whatisscrum.com, whatisscrum.com. There you can find out more information about what the role of a Scrum Master is, what the Scrum framework is, and whether or not you'd be a good fit to kind of transition into that role. I've got a free video series there that you can get access to and just learn more about Scrum in general. If you want to kind of get educated about the Scrum certifications and you decided that you want to make that next step and you just want to decide which certification is right for you, which Scrum certification is best. There are a lot of them out there. There are a few of them that are worth a lot more than others. And so I would encourage you to go to yourscrumcert.com. There you can get a copy of my guide that will help you decide which Scrum certification you want, which one is best for you based on your budget, based on your short and long-term goals. If you're looking to actually get certified, we've got safe certification classes running every month. You can go to safe.mansatech.com to find out more about our certification classes and get registered. And finally, if you're looking for training, if you're looking for guidance, if you're looking for mentorship to actually get a Scrum Master position and support making that transition successfully, you can go to academy.mansatech.com where you can find out more about our program. Every Wednesday, we have a webinar where we talk about our program and we talk about the success of our students. To date, our students have received over $24 million in job offers. So if making six figures is something that you're interested in, if making a career transition is something that you're interested in, if remote or hybrid work is something that interests you, I encourage you to go to academy.mansatech.com. We'd love to see you at one of our upcoming webinars. And with that, I'm out. Victor Adetiba. Peace.